So we're going to speak about driving transformative and equitable change to build inclusive organizations. This is a very pressing issue facing organizations today at all levels, from the board level all the way down to the team level. And these are some of the key learnings that I hope you take away with you today. It's understanding that organizations are systems, that they live within other systems, and in order to drive meaningful change within organizations, you have to understand the systems of the organization and what it takes to drive that change. Obviously, in all these conversations, I think we talk about the importance of engaging senior management, having their buy-in and support, and understanding the value proposition for building equitable and inclusive organizations. We're going to look at a tool called the DEI Maturity Continuum to understand where your organizations may be on the continuum, and take a little deeper dive into one of the stages in the continuum. So without further ado, let's get started. So when you think about organizations, there are, many levels within organizations, and I like this view of thinking about the individual in an organization and what their experience is, how teams function in organizations. As we all know, so much of organizational work focuses around projects and project teams, how that all relates to departments and different business units and cross-functionality between those or the lack thereof, and how all of that builds into organizational outcomes. So we'll take a little deeper dive into that. And then understanding that an organization is not in isolation. It lives within an ecosystem. So it functions and exists within social structures, within technology structures, within environmental constraints and environmental compliance, and stakeholder environmental concerns. There's a political environment in which we all operate. There are economic conditions, competitive conditions, prices of raw materials, availability. As we see today, the car industry is having trouble getting chips. It's impacting their ability to produce cars. So all of these things, demographic changes. And as we look in the US, demographic changes are a very big issue in terms of how we're going to be managing organizations. And of course, we talk about building agile and resilient organizations because the pace of change is rapidly accelerating. And I think we all know VUCA, volatile, uncertain conditions and, constantly changing. I have to remember to hit the right button. So I wanted to take a look at, where we are with COVID-19. We have a situation where we have certain members of our society, of our population, being disproportionately impacted by COVID and having a much higher death rate than the rest of the population. And so that's what I'm sharing here. And while it's not happy news, it is the reality of what is going on in our country at this moment. And the CDC attributes this high level of infection rate in the BIPOC community. Well, not by BIPOC, I mean Black, Indigenous, people of color community, because of inequity in our social structures, such as determinants of health, like income and wealth, healthcare access and healthcare utilization, education, occupations, whether you're a frontline worker or whether you're, privileged enough to be able to work remotely, discrimination in how healthcare is provided, and even in housing and, access to how dense the housing population is in the area that you live, or even within your own, space for living. So all of this impacts how COVID has rolled out through this country. And so there is definitely a discriminatory aspect to the infection rates related to COVID. And then, of course, we have the concurrent pandemic of racism in this country. And it's been a lot for organizations to deal with. This is a picture in Los Angeles protesting the George Floyd death. And stakeholders are really expecting management and leaders to respond and be concerned about these social inequities. This is, it's required that not only do they respond, but that they look deeply within their own organization and make sure that they're not being inconsistent with their external remarks and their internal actions. A lot of organizations came out with Black Lives Matter statements, and a lot of them received pushback from customers, from employees, from community groups, because the statements were inconsistent with many of the policies they had followed for many, many years. For example, certain refineries operate in cities, and the communities around those refineries have very, very high level of cancer rates and asthma rates. And those populations tend to be BIPOC populations. So many people, including investors, are seeing disconnects between what corporations are saying in regard to Black Lives Matter and the realities of what they're practicing within their own organizations. And many of you may have seen this pipeline. This is the work of McKinsey and Lean In, and they've been tracking this as it relates to women predominantly since 2015. Their 2021 pipeline just came out, and in that they are taking an even deeper dive into the racial disparities within the pipeline. But you can see left to right, we're looking entry level all the way up to C-suite. The top of the categories, white men, down to the bottom of women of color. And you can see that how people enter an organization, and then how systematically women and people of color, that their levels fall off as you move forward in the organization. And unfortunately, even though this has been being tracked since 2015, and truthfully, a lot.
Hi there, hope you enjoyed that last clip. My name is Michael Malutis, and if you'd like to watch the full 60 minutes of that last webcast, while also gaining complete unlimited access to our entire library of IT learning, simply visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Unlimited annual access is $199 per year. But if you use the coupon code LEARN to earn, you can drop that membership fee to just $149. That's less than $13 per month for unlimited access to over 1,000 hours of on-demand career development, covering the entire spectrum of IT management best practices, including business analysis and requirements, software development, quality and testing, risk management, process improvement, project management, and even digital transformation. But your membership doesn't just give you unlimited access to our vast learning library. You also get free access to our mobile app, as well as direct access to our network of over 300 of the world's leading IT consultants, all of whom are dedicated to putting practical knowledge at your fingertips so that you can learn more and earn more. I hope you will join me in becoming a member of the Great IT Professional and advancing your career with us. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button above so that you get notified whenever we publish new free webcasts each week of the year. Thank you for your time, and best wishes for your continued success.